everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 609 to 610 for the 25th to 26th of October for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. And so there's a few developments. Mainly there's a few major things over at this Kherson Front and over at the Avdiivka Front. I think these two are the major big ones that we should be talking about. And let's start off with the Avdiivka Front. The Russians continue their offensive over at the Avdiivka offensive. Whatever the big losses they are taking, especially if you believe in the Ukrainian side of information, the Russians indeed, based on footages, they are taking a lot of casualties. A lot of equipment was destroyed, but this is needed because just like the Ukrainians have done that during their initial offensive, the Iron Fist, the Armored Fist, is meant to break through the hardest line of defense, the first line of defense, break through so that you can capture certain strategic position. And this is also why I find it very irritating because the Ukrainians failed to do that. Their armored fists have not achieved much in the initial start of their counteroffensive, but the Russians over in this case actually did manage to capture some very important strategic positions, and this makes the cost of this armored fist sort of more worth it. Not that these people didn't die, they still died, I guess. So the main thing is the Russians' success in capturing this heap of waste, or waste heap, or slag heap, or I call it a volcano because it looks like a volcano to me. And the Russians made this major armored push, and they actually managed to fully capture this. And the latest information suggests that the Russian forces are now pushing into the coke plant. This is the coke plant, the Avdiivka coke plant, and they are already starting to cross over the railway line. The Ukrainian forces are definitely holding and trying to hold the line. There are some rumors from the Russian side saying that they are now pushing into this coke plant. And if this is true, which means that the Russian forces have actually entered into the outskirts, they started to molest and touch Avdiivka in that sense, because the coke plant is basically part of this entire city. This is the industrial area, the industrial zone of this entire Avdiivka city. And the fact that if they enter in, this is actually the first time that the Russian forces basically enter into Avdiivka proper. But this we will still need more confirmation. The best is geolocations, as we have seen. We do reports on geolocation nowadays, thanks to a few brilliant work of various Telegram channels, and including Military Summary, who are also investing into geolocation. So that's very good, which allows us to update the map accordingly. So that is the situation. The Ukrainians did try to do a counterattack on the 25th of October to try to retake or push back the Russians. However, this has not worked out, as the Russians continue their push on the 26th. After negating this counterattack, they continue to push across. So this is the situation in the northern part of Avdiivka. Otherwise, we also have the Russians. Another new area of fighting is actually from the area from the direction of Yasinuvata, in this direction towards Avdiivka. So fighting is reported over here, according to Ryba, as they mentioned, assault operation from the direction of Yasinuvata managed to come close to the Donetsk filtration center or station, which is actually this facility over here. This facility previously was already geolocated to be Ukrainian. There is Ukrainian forces within it, and the Russians are currently attacking in this region here. This is actually a new direction. We haven't seen an attack coming from this direction before, I would say. So we shall continue to monitor and see how this goes. The Ukrainians do have all this forest region here to the west of this filtration station, so it is still pretty defendable. The Ukrainians are very good at defending in the forest. So otherwise, we have other progress in this north of Opitny. there's this Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported this major development in the northern part of Opini. They're coming close to around a kilometer from this district, 1.5 kilometers from this ninth district, which is also known as Kimik, the ninth district of the Avdiivka city, and 1.5 kilometers away. And this comes as a surprise because it come out of nowhere. Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, which is the equivalence of Ryba on the Ukrainian side, entirely rejected this entire progress. They say that this entire thing does not happen. So we shall wait and see to see if Ryba's information is more correct or Deep State UA's information is more correct. So we shall see. The best way to see is waiting for geolocation. And the Russian forces are also making push in the southern part of Avdiivka, and they are also attacking from the area of Spartak. There is a major Ukrainian defensive position in this southern part of Avdiivka. This remains to be under Ukrainian control. I think the Russian forces are trying to storm it while they are actually pushing from the south try to push into Avdiivka itself, into the outskirts in the suburb regions. So we shall wait and see how this goes. Information all coming from Ryba, the pro-Russian sources. And otherwise, in the general picture, we're actually seeing the Russians also pushing at Stepove, towards Tonenke, towards Zhivane, and so including the one from Yasinovata direction in the south, at Spartak, from Opitny, and also towards from the volcano region. I can see that the Russians are pushing in multiple directions. So there is certain rumors about Ukrainian situation getting more and more terrible in this region here. There is rumors of coming from Russian sources, if I didn't remember wrongly, of Ukrainian forces redeploying units from the Orikhiv sector where the Robotini Verbove is to try to reinforce the situation, reinforce their forces in this region here. They're pulling forces from other fronts, but this is based on information coming from pro-Russian sources, so take it with a pinch of salt. But pro-Ukrainian channels are actually being very solemn about the situation at Avdiivka. They are actually already preparing their fans and supporters or followers for bad news, based on the way how they have written certain things and telling people not to get excited, telling people that things are very, very hard. So that's the situation over at the Avdiivka front. There is certain geolocation of Ukrainian forces just south of Lotoshkine, and this is by Kreminna Caprice, showing the Ukrainian forces definitely still holding the position around Lashtokyne. So again, for those that may not have watched DPA's reporting before, this is the only road out. This is the only road out of Avdiivka. This is the only main road. Everything else is not really roads. No, they are just dirt trails. So this is the only road out. And if this is taken out, and which means the Russians have achieved operational encirclement, there will be no way ammunition, food, and water. Maybe there's water, maybe there's pipeline, but no food, reinforcement, ammunition will not be able to get through into Avdiivka. And if they cannot get into Avdiivka will be besieged, and the fall of Avdiivka might just be a matter of time. There might be a lot of cost to holding this, just like in Bakhmut, but it will be a disaster. So this is the key point that we are in terms of DPA's monitoring. We are looking at how the Russians are going to move around this region here. As usual, if you do not know or never heard me say before, the key settlements are Stepove, Badaichi, Semenivka, and Tonenke, Zhivane, and Loshtoshkine. Lashtokyne is a very pivotal one, and of course Orikhiv. These two is the main one, and then these are the smaller ones that the Russians need to take in order to reach this supplying line or this main road from Avdiivka. So this is the Avdiivka front, and moving away from the front, we go to the next more intense front. But before that, I just want to highlight there is two MiG-29 shot down over Pokrov. Pokrov is over here, this city over here, just northwest of Donetsk city. and this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. There is also another training jet getting shot down in the region of Dnipro at Sinelnikove. So another training jet got shot down, and there's also another Sukhoi 25. So with this Sukhoi 25, we are going to the Kherson Front. So the Sukhoi 25 was shot down over Kozachi Lahiri. This is most likely the Ukrainian air support trying to support the fighting over around this region, conducting airstrikes on Russian positions or units, and unfortunately got shot down by air defense, I believe. Let me see. Most likely is air defense. Yeah, air defense unit shot down. So all the planes that I have reported is shot down by air defense, and this brings me to address some of these issue from the previous SITREP. The previous SITREP I mentioned a lot of aircraft has been shot down. A lot of aircraft have been shot down over the span of 3-4 days, and I said that these are all reported as air defense shootdowns. These are not shoot down by aircraft. I know that a lot of people commented saying that military summary mentioned about the Russians introducing a new air-to-air missile, but that's not it. No, the report from the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned air defense, and I can show you air defense facility, air defense facility units, air defense. This is part of the air defense one, and this is also air defense. Basically, all the reports is talking about air defense. So, Odessa, same thing. Odessa is the only one that was shot down by fighter jet, and so I just want to highlight this because it's not just Dima saying something, then it must be true. No, Dima says something based on whatever information that he read. This does not literally translate to whatever my side is reporting, because I'm reporting by exactly what the Russian Defense Ministry is saying is air defense, and most likely it might be a S-400. As I mentioned during the report, it could be S-400, it could be S-300, but we haven't seen such a major shoot downs of aircraft by the Russian air defense for a long time. And suddenly so many shutdowns might suggest a certain or signal a certain change. Oh, I just realized I didn't show you the map. So air defense, you can see this is part of air defense one. Air defense, I've got to show you. Yeah, air defense. So, and only this one is over at Odessa is by aircraft. So the new ones are similarly air defense. So this is why I'm trying to say that that this signals a possible change in terms of the what the Russians are doing with their air defense system. So yeah, so don't jump the gun. I don't watch military summary much. So although I know Dima personally, but commenting below saying that Dima said something and doesn't translate for me. It makes no sense to me. So yeah, so anyway, continuing over at the Kherson Front, we have the Ukrainians counterattack again. Previously, the Russians claimed to have cleared out this region here. They have actually pushed out the Ukrainians away from this area here, and it turned out to be either not true or the Ukrainians have counterattacked. So again, the Ukrainians have pushed through again from the Pridniprovsky region, and they launched an attack against Prishevnivka and Poima. So this time round there is no quick capture of these two positions. Previously the two positions were captured, and then the Russian launched artillery strike on them, then it got pushed out. So this time round the Russians seems to be in the area, and there is another push moving towards Pistepny, and this one they got struck by artillery systems, and they did not manage to break through. So that's about it in this area here. There is a geolocation of Ukrainian forces north of Pistepny over this position. This geolocated by Kreminna, and this confirms that the Ukrainians continue to hold a bridgehead or a beachhead around this area here in the north of Pistepny. So the push towards Pistepny might also come from the north, not necessarily have to come from the west. So ultimately, whatever the push is coming from, so far the report suggests that they was taken out by the artillery systems. And So we move on to the other beachhead, which is at Krinky. So at Krinky, the Ukrainian forces continue to hold the position around here. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces along the Konka River, as well as a small rubber boat just off Krinky with new Ukrainian soldiers landing. And this soldiers around here unfortunately was killed by the suicide drone. And generally, the situation at Krinky continues to be volatile. The Russian forces are continuing their attack in the region of Krinky. So far, the fighting is still ongoing. The clashes continue, as you mentioned here. The Russians are still attacking the Ukrainian forces that managed to land around this area here. But they got a feeling that they will not be able to hold the position for much longer if the Russians continue to put pressure on these Ukrainian forces in this area here. So that's all from the Kherson Front. We move on to the other major front, which is in the Orikhiv sector. So this is the Orikhiv sector around the Zaporizhzhia front. Ukrainian forces supposedly are still attacking Verbove in the west of Robotine, in the north of Kopani, and a new operation in the area of Nestyarenka. So as usual, as I mentioned before, the main aim is to create this buffer zone around Kopani, or in the western part of Robotine, to secure Robotine. And this is going to be a hard fight. It's going to be very big. And one clear difference where I'm seeing, previously I have mentioned before that the Ukrainians have been doing this infantry centric offensive. So they're using more infantry, and armored vehicles is more used for transportation and fire support from distance. This time around, we are seeing a lot more Leopard tanks being deployed, and there is footages coming out of Leopard tanks getting destroyed by suicide drones, and it is quite shocking because a single FPV drone, a suicide drone, can destroy a single Leopard tank. And we are not talking about Leopard 1, we're talking about Leopard 2, the more advanced version, the one that my country's army have. And that's very, very disturbing, and it's very, very scary, because if a single drone can destroy a single tank, then where are you going to get security at all? No, where are you going to get safety at all in the modern warfare, in the modern battlefield? I don't think you can get any of that. Even soldiers hiding in bunkers, in trenches, in houses, they're all getting killed by suicide drones. So I find that very, very, very disturbing. So the Ukrainians, previously, as I mentioned, they are using more infantry centric tactics, and then this time around suddenly they are using a lot more armor, and which is why we suddenly see an uptick in terms of the losses in terms of armored vehicles and Leopard tanks, and not just Leopard tanks but Soviet era tanks as well. So the Ukrainians are making major push. Maybe I should use this color, Verbove, and in the west of Robotine. There is reports of the Russians also conducting operations in the north, in Verbove region, and from the area of Novoprokopivka. So far, I don't think there's any success in terms of the pushing out from Novoprokopivka just yet. So, as you can see, 25th, 26th, because we are talking about the last 2 days, SITREP, the Ukrainians were attacking. As per the Russian sources, the Ukrainian sources say that the Russians are attacking. So over the western part of Robotine, we have the Russian Defense Ministry reporting about the Ukrainian pushing out. Novoprokopivka the Russian pushing out of Novoprokopivka is reported by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, and that's about it. Over in the north of Kopani and Nestyarenka is reported by Deep State UA. They say that there are counter battles in this area. They say that the defense forces improved their tactical positions around Nestyarenka and Kopani. So they are reporting some positive developments in this area here. So we shall wait and see. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces in the western part of Nestyarenka simply show that the Ukrainians are there, but the Russians have a major defense line north of Merne, so not very significant if you ask me. And we move on to another front line. We go to the Velyka Novosilka region. So this is Velyka Novosilka, and in this region we have some Russian offensive in the area of Prione, Staromayorsky, and Uruzhaine. So main thing, I don't think the Staromayorsky and Uruzhaine part is the important one. I don't think there's much differences in terms of the situation there. Over at Prione, we do have a new situation, is that the fighting is now reported in the northeast. So which means that instead of fighting in the north, we are seeing that the Russians are pushing northeast in this direction. So this is something new. We haven't seen being reports saying that the Russians are attacking in the northeastern part of Prione. So this is actually pretty refreshing. So we shall see how this goes. Just next door, there is a geolocation of Ukrainian forces at Melnivka. Not very important because it just simply corroborate that they are there. And we move on into the Donetsk Front. Over the Donetsk Front, we have some geolocation. Ukrainian forces geolocated west of Novodonetsk. This is Novodonetsk. So yeah, so this should continue to show that Ukrainians do have the positions around here. We have multiple geolocations already about them being there, so it's not particularly very unique. But we do have a bit more unique one, which is the Russians geolocated in the northwestern outskirts of Novomayorsky. So this actually shows that the Russians have recaptured this tree line around here. So that's about it, I would say. There is a weird report from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry saying there's a fighting near Novoukrenka. So Novoukrenka is here, so unlikely that the Russians actually push all the way into this area here. So yeah, so take that with a pinch of salt. Voleda region, the Russians are still continuing to push out or conducting offensive operation, or they're conducting fire mission on the Ukrainian positions in the area of Voleda, north of Mikhailsky, and in the direction of Vodian. So situation looks like the Russians are actually just firing and are trying to weaken the Ukrainian positions in this area here. So yeah, so that is about it. It's not like they are doing assault, but it's more like they're pushing and trying to weaken the Ukrainian positions around the area here. In Marinka continues to be the same. Ukrainian position still to be geolocated on the northwestern part of Marinka. So that doesn't change anything. The front line have not changed. There is reports of fighting in the area of Novomihailivka. So the similar common stuff, nothing particularly special in this area here. Over at the Bakhmut Front. So in the Bakhmut Front, this is where the Ukrainians supposedly doing their massive or major offensive. The offensive, clearly you have already know by now, has already bogged down. Despite there was still reports of their fighting in the 25th. On the 25th of October, we haven't seen the reports on 26th. In fact, we do have the reports of Russians also attacking in the region of Klishevka, 25th, 26th, in Adrievka, 25th, and then over at Kodyomivka on the 25th. So, in that sense, mathematically speaking, we do have the Russians have a slight initiative in this region here, and the Ukrainians reportedly still attacking, but it looks like it's pretty much the end of this offensive. I can't see it go anywhere anymore. Not especially that we don't have a lot of geolocation of this area here. In fact, when they do, it is Ukrainian forces getting struck very far away from the front line as the Russian FPV drones are starting to swarm the battlefield. Yeah, that's quite scary if you ask me. Northern flank, we have the Russians continue to be pushing at Kromove and as well as Bodanivka, although we have counterclaims that the Ukrainians are pushing at Bodanivka and towards Yakhine region. So Russian Defense Ministry said that there is fighting in the area of Maloyinivka, whatever. So which is actually here. So the Maloyinovka, anyway, whatever. It can't be there, so it's probably just in the direction. But the Russians are pushing in the area of Kromove on the 26th. It was reported to be that case. So take it with a pinch of salt. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces over here, which was just a shelling of an abandoned armored vehicle, show that Ukrainians are there. Russians are not there yet. And then fighting in the Bodanivka region, Russian Defense Ministry reported the Ukrainians attack on the 26th, whereas the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians attacked on the 25th and 26th. So the Ukrainians are very consistent about the Russians pushing in this direction. So let's see how this goes. Yep. And there is fighting being reported at Vasilkivka, according to Ryba, the Russian source. We have no much information about this area here. And we move on to the Kreminna Front. There's nothing over the Svatove Front. This is Kreminna. So at the Kreminna Front, the Russians reportedly pushing a bit over at the Serebranski Forestry, and a major clash in the area of Yampolivka and Torske. Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking over at Torske and attacking at Dibrova region and in the area of Ryhorivka. So so that's basically the situation right here. There's no clear indication of frontline changes. I don't want to go through the sources. You can actually go through the map yourself if you are a DPA officer or DPA general. So Russian Defense Ministry, Ukrainian Defense Ministry, very typical stuff. So yeah, that's about it from this area here. Over at the Svatove Front, we have fighting reported on the 25th. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the Russians seems to have restarted this push around the Makiivka region. We shall see how this goes. Not much is talked about that. There is some major fighting in the area, in this area here, in the Novosilka, Nadia region, this Novosilka. And the Ukrainian forces seems to be launching some major offensive, or not say major, but some important offensive operations in this area here. They are pushing at Nadia towards Serhievka and in the area of Novosilka. So information coming from the Russian side. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry also reported that they repelled Russian forces on the 25th in the area of Nadia. So let's see how this goes and see who is actually telling the truth. But this doesn't look like some major offensive that we're going to see some major frontline changes. Over in the north, in the Kupyansk Front. So this is the Kupyansk Front. Kupyansk Front is this, and this is Kupyansk. And at the Kupyansk Front, the Russians seems to be continuing their Kupyansk offensive in the fighting in the area of Liman Pershik, Sinkivka, Timkovka or Peshotrevneve, and Ivanivka. However, the Russian side, they are claiming pretty much the same thing. They're saying that the Ukrainians are pushing at Sinkivka, at Timkov, Zagoryukovka, and Timkovka in Ivanivka. So it's pretty much the same claims. So it's very hard to tell who is actually making the offensive. Tentatively, I'm leaning towards that the Russians are making the offensive and the Ukrainians are conducting counter-offensive operation to try to pin the Russians back. But situation seems to be pretty unclear. What we do know, which is clear, is a geolocation in the north of Timkovka region by Kreminna Front, showing that the Russian forces are in this area here, which corroborates our front line. And this shows that the situation here is pretty much the Ukrainians are maybe around this tree line, this forest region here, along this tree line around here, maybe around this area here, and along the road. And the Russians are making positions around this forest region here in this this area here. And this probably is the front line situation, and they are conducting very limited offensive operations around this area here. So we shall see. The Russians are not in a hurry, and the Ukrainians are getting desperate because they are fighting very hard for media attention, and they are losing because the media is now all on Palestine and Israel. And so it is a very complicated situation for the Ukrainian side, as they will not be able to get that media attention that they need to continue to encourage the West to continue to contribute more. The Washington in terms of in the United States, the pro-war factions or people, or the pro-Ukrainian, or the people who are supporting the deep state or whatnot, they are still trying very hard to try to get bills passed to send money for Ukraine. At the same time sending money to Israel. But so far things are very complicated. The politics is getting very, very hard. The Democrats do not have a full control. Biden is not having full control. So things are very, very complicated. And the media attention have entirely lost. Although I can see that from the views DPA is getting, there is still a lot of attention on the Ukraine war, but I'm not sure because DPA's viewership, there's a higher percentage of people who are pro-Russia and a big percentage of the people who are neutral. And this group of people will be more interested and more, you know, positive in this area of time, or this period of time, because the Russians are doing the offensive and not the Ukrainians. And as such, the mainstream media have already lost interest, because the Ukrainians are not winning, the Russians are not losing, and the attention is now all going to condemning Israel bombing Gaza. So there's a situation around here. So I'm just trying to tweak with this, you know, changing of the these scenes and whatnot. But I'm not so used to it. I also not too sure when to do it. This is to minimize editing, because editing does take extra time. But yeah, but let's see how this goes. And thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and if you want to access this map, if you want to access this map, you can become a DPA officer, and this will allow you exclusive access to this map. Yeah, and otherwise, yeah, you can also, you know, join the DPA forum, you know, chit chat with people, or join the DPA Discord. All the links are all in the description below. So thank you for watching. Do press yeah, I don't want to repeat again. See you. Nice quote.